Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you guys doing? Hop into the chat, say hello. Let me know where you're logging in from. And my name is Mariah. I am the creator of Mint Mind, and it's just a very accessible, easy, free way to connect back to yourself over and over again. My background is in hypnotherapy. I have a separate hypnotherapy practice, and I'm on lots of different types of meditation apps, just continuously reminding people to come back to themselves. Today, I've got a very important talk, and I think this is going to be great, especially now that we're getting closer to the holidays and also closer to the start of the year. You know, we're ending one year and starting another one, which is always a big thing. Today's talk is going to be about detoxing, dopamine, and we're going to really get into it today. If you aren't already aware, I've got a dopamine challenge today. I think 30 minutes ago even. I just dropped my second of the 3-part series, my second meditation. And so if anything I'm saying today resonates with you, you're going to want to check that out. To begin, let's just take a deep breath in, fully landing in the space, being open and receptive to this talk today. And on the exhale, tracing your exhales from the crown of your head all the way down to the tip of your toes. Another deep breath in whenever you're ready, filling your lungs completely, being open and receptive to the session today. And on the exhale, tracing your exhale from the crown of your head all the way down to your feet. One more time on your own time, and see how much time you can take with it. Today's all about going slow. Today's also about learning how to recalibrate and learning the importance of recalibrating to silence, to boredom. And to start, reflect on your overall mood lately. How have you been feeling lately? Reflect on your sleep, your energy levels. Reflect on your focus, your attention span at work, throughout your day, on your goals. And reflect on what you go to for dopamine, specifically. Reflect on your relationship with food, shopping, your phone, other technology. And lastly, reflect on your relationship with silence and boredom. How much time do you spend together? Get a sense of what you notice. Leaning a little bit more into the way the brain works and the psychology behind dopamine is it's both a chemical messenger in the brain, it's sending messages, and it's also a hormone that's released into the bloodstream. And it creates this reward system, a reward system that motivates us to work towards something for a treat, essentially. I'm going to do all of these things, and I'm going to get this at the end, which is the dopamine. So we complete a task, we reach a goal, we get a little hit. It also helps us to connect to humans, to eat food, to connect to nature. We get these little hits of dopamine. It's a key player in motivation for things, in memory, and in mood. So this is your body's natural reward system to do the things that are important, connecting to nature, connecting to one another, connecting to your needs, fulfilling your needs, and taking steps towards a goal. How does it get out of hand? You probably have some ideas. Dopamine, when it gets bad, is rewarding without doing anything, free rewards, and rewarding instantly, right? Instant gratification. You've heard those terms before. Instant gratification. And what happens when we do this is that we acclimate to an unnatural threshold for dopamine. So the mind feels that it needs so much in order to feel good. And that causes it to get more and more hungry for dopamine. And it gets addicted to that threshold, that new threshold. It gets addicted to that and it turns to anything it can to get its dopamine fix, to get it quick, and to get it with no work, because we're training the mind and body to do that. And we train it with scrolling on social media. We know this one. We train it with shopping. We train it with junk food and quick sugars, binge watching TV. And the thing with social media and the shopping industry and all of these industries surrounding consumption is that they know this, and they've hacked your reward system. Their one singular goal is keeping your attention and keeping you in this loop of consumption for as long as possible, to the point where any little pieces of our attention that's going towards what our natural dopamine response really wants, long-term goals, right? Working towards something, connecting with nature, connecting with others. It's getting broken. That attention span is getting broken. So it's getting broken by notifications, leading us back to consuming. Ads and commercials, again, leading us back to consuming. Even low prices or sales like Black Friday or Christmas coming around with time expirations that reignite this scarcity mindset. I'm not going to be able to afford this down the line because it'll be at a different price, right? When in reality, this is just a sales tactic. If there is going to be a Black Friday sale, there's always going to be a Christmas sale. There's always going to be a New Year sale. There's even going to be a Valentine's Day sale. But it's this feeling of scarcity, this feeling of harnessing fear, because we do respond quickly without thinking as much in fear, in states of fear. And we did a whole live on this, on states of fear and what that does to your nervous system. So low prices, sales with time expirations, reigniting scarcity mindset, and also any messaging that you are lacking anything in any way, making you feel like you need something. This is breaking your attention span and getting you to, how can I get that thing that's going to provide me X, Y, Z. For a lot of women, it's, that thing that is going to make me desirable. Again, scarcity mindset. I am unlovable. No one will love me, right? No one desires me. Also, multitasking. This is a big one. And we're doing many small tasks at once, which is creating many small dopamine hits. So whatever little pieces of attention that we do have that's going towards our goal is being broken by these systems that know how to get us back into this loop, get us back into the loop of putting our attention on it, being on the app as much as possible, consuming, purchasing, buying, whatever consuming is for that particular business. And over time, this starts to mold our brain. It starts to train our brain. And right, the brain is a very plastic, moldable thing. And especially when you have a reward system that's innate, it's a very moldable thing. So now we start to notice that every 20 minutes, I'm picking up my phone. Every stoplight, I'm picking up my phone. Whenever we're at a party and the one friend we know goes to the bathroom and we realize that we're alone, we're picking up our phone. So we start to notice a time component to this. If you haven't noticed, and maybe bring a little bit more awareness, and we're actually going to talk about that later on in the conversation today. But over time, we're developing an insatiable hunger for small hits of dopamine. And we're doing all of these behaviors to keep in that dopamine loop. Now, what this is doing on the brain level is it's making your brain become overworked in the parts of your brain, like the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, that manage important things like mood, anxiety, memory, attention, fear, your emotions, and sleep. And then over time, you'll start to notice, why am I insatiable? Why am I often irritable? Why am I starting to forget things? And why am I feeling more anxious? Why am I feeling exhausted? Because the parts of your brain that's in these loops, the very important parts of your brain, are managing those things and getting overworked. Overworked with all of these behaviors to get these small hits of dopamine. We find out throughout our days that we are too exhausted to put work into our goals. So we go back into the doom scrolling loop. I'm too tired to do anything today. I'm too tired to talk to anyone. Back into the doom scrolling loop, which is just perpetuating this further. We notice that we're irritable. So we go and we binge junk food and get those quick sugars. We notice that we are anxious. So we shop online, get those quick dopamine hits. So take a moment to reflect on your life. What quick dopamine hits have you been indulging in? And what are the systems in place that have been getting you back into that loop? We're no longer spending time in silence and boredom because it's unbearable. We've associated negative feelings to it. And we've gotten ourselves to a place where we're frying the important parts of our brain through overworking it. And we've heightened the levels of dopamine, our threshold for dopamine now, that the absence of that feels unbearable. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Where has the absence of dopamine felt unbearable, and what has that led you to do? And going back to our relationship with silence and boredom, and the negative associations that we've made with it, really in silence is where we harness our intuition. It's where we listen to ourselves. And it's in boredom that we start to use our imagination, where we get creative ideas, where we start to feel inspired. And it's in these moments where we really look at our lives and we get a sense of where we want to go. It's where we reflect, where we integrate things. So take a moment to reflect on your own relationship with silence, with boredom. What negative associations do you have, if you do have negative associations? And so now that we understand the systems kind of put in place, a little bit of how the mind works, how this is really just a natural reward system that has been hacked, that we've trained our brain with to really look for a fix at the end of the day. Small little hits of dopamine without having to do anything. Free dopamine, right? What is the shift for that in a constructive fashion? Now that we know the destructive parts of it, constructively, what can we do? So I made some rhymes here for you. Dopamine for free is not good for me. Any kind of dopamine that is just a free hit is training your brain to want free hits of dopamine. And if I wait for the treat, it's even better to eat. Instead of instant gratification, how can we lengthen the amount of time between the work that we're doing and the treat that we get at the end, which is dopamine, our natural treat? So it's this understanding that free dopamine is not your friend, and that you're allowing other things to hack your reward system that is meant to have you connecting with nature, connecting with others, getting your needs met, and working towards a long-term goal. I'll say that again. Dopamine for free is not good for me. Free dopamine is not your friend. You're allowing other things to hack your reward system. Your natural reward system that's meant for you connecting with nature, connecting with others, and working towards goals. Also getting your standard needs met. And if I wait for the treat, it's even better to eat, lengthening the time. How much can I stretch this time in between me working and the dopamine at the end? First step, bringing in awareness, assessing your emotions. When are you picking up your phone? Or when are you going shopping? When are you leaning into junk food and simple sugars, quick sugars? What is so uncomfortable? An element is, these systems hacking our natural dopamine and using it for their advantage. But also part of it is there's something here that's uncomfortable. There's something here that's uncomfortable. It's causing me to have this behavior, right? For example, being at a party or any kind of gathering, hanging out with your friend, that one friend goes to the bathroom, immediately to our phone. So we're going from full undivided attention with someone to full undivided attention to our phone. And what is that in between that we're jumping over? What is so uncomfortable with the silence, with sitting with ourselves, with reflection, with boredom? Is it this feeling, I don't like my life. I don't want to even think about it. I have to go from one thing to another. Is it how we're being perceived at a party, having nobody to talk to? And why is that so uncomfortable? Is it just the overall silence? Your brain has acclimated to this level of stimulation. And when that's no longer there, you have to jump from that level, from the level of, one person-to-person contact to the level to your phone. Bringing awareness. When we bring awareness, it's no longer happening in the subconscious mind. It's no longer a habit. When we bring awareness, we actually can bring intention. Okay, I understand that I am doing this for XYZ reasons. So when do you pick up your phone? Is it timed? Is it every 20 minutes? Also, another thing to notice. Is it like clockwork? Because if you recognize that, then you get a sense of my brain has been trained. Every 20 minutes, I'm picking up my phone. Or is it whenever there's something uncomfortable? Step 2 is having responsibility. Taking responsibility for this. We know that, yes, there's systems in place, but we've also allowed our mind to be trained in this way. And that our minds are the way that they are because we've trained it that way. And that will also help you have a little bit of grace with yourself. Because it can be trained so well in a way that is destructive, we can also train it in a way that is constructive. Let's talk about ways that we can train it constructively. If we're going to be consuming content, I'm not out here to tell you, don't ever look at your phone and be completely removed from social media. But if we're going to be consuming content, what kind of content are we consuming? Now that we know short-term things is just giving us a short little boost of dopamine over and over and over again. Consuming long-form content. Long-form content will at least be a step in the better direction because dopamine, if I wait for the treat, it's even better to eat, right? So lengthening the long-form content. Also watching things that are inspiring, watching things that make you feel that there's energy moving in you after you end that consumption. So whether that be a call to action or just something that's generally inspiring you to do something else. Completely focusing on one thing at a time and asking yourself, do I really have to multitask with this? And this is really assessing over productivity and the way society has been set up so that we are all overproductive and we all feel we have to be doing something constantly. And in fact, we value people who say, oh, I didn't sleep at night because I was working so hard and I was really in the grind and the hustle all night. We're not really at a place in society where we value rest and where we value full intention and full attention with something. Asking yourself, do I really have to multitask with this? Or is this something that I can do one thing at a time? And taking moments, right? Because this is also dopamine hits in a natural, constructive way. Enjoying the process of whatever you're doing rather than feeling like you have to hold so many different things, so many different tasks. And awareness will help. Being fully committed to that one particular task will help. If you read different types of meditation books, Eckhart Tolle, you'll notice they talk a lot about having full awareness with the very particular thing that you're doing at that moment. For example, if I'm walking to the kitchen to get myself my cup of tea, every single part of me is walking with me. Every single drop of my attention is walking with me to get my cup of tea. When I'm pouring the hot water into my mug, every drop of my awareness is with me here as I'm pouring my hot water into my mug. And if we bring this attention, this awareness into everything we do for folding laundry, we're not thinking about the past, right? We're not thinking about all the things that we have to do, the future. Being fully here presently will start to heal that. And it will give us bits of dopamine just about the present moment. Do I really have to multitask with this? This is one of my favorite ones. Keeping a log of what you consume, summarizing and integrating it. So when we're consuming short-term content, it's just so much content. And a lot of it is short. We're not getting into depth with anything. We're just getting basically titles. A bunch of titles, and we're inferring what that means, the short content means. We're inferring what the depth is rather than actually engaging with the depth of it and then coming up with our own titles, our own summaries. So, and this is good. This will bring you a little bit back to school days and academia as well, which is fun. So keeping a log, 1 page a day, and everything that you're engaging in, if you can't summarize or integrate it, it is not something that you should be engaging in. It's not something that's benefiting you long term. And it's just quick dopamine fixes, right? Free dopamine is not good for me. or dopamine for free is not good for me. So keeping a log of what you consume, summarizing it and integrating it. Also mantra work and meditation. Retraining the mind. Let's talk about this. Limiting our distractions. So things that are breaking our focus. So silencing notifications, muting ads. Ads are here to break our focus, right? Take us back to consumption. And using the time of that ads. And you can also, pay for not having ads at all. But if you're like, I want something economic and budget friendly, using the time of those ads to come back to silence, to come back to yourself, to come back to your body. How am I feeling? Right? This is a great intermission with content that you are consuming rather than just a full break in your attention span. It's a nice intermission to refocus back, to even take a moment to integrate, right? Or to summarize what you've experienced before rather than attention. You're going from your show to the commercial to your show to the commercial, and you're binging that all night. Scheduling boredom. This is going to be a very boring thing to do, but boredom is going to be a great step in the direction of reacclimating to quiet, to silence, to our creativity, to our intuition, to our reflections, our goals, our vision. Putting books in places where you grab your phone. And over time, and these aren't just any books, these are actual books that you'll pick up, books that you will enjoy. And maybe it's baby steps, right? Maybe it is a fantasy book, or maybe it is something that, which I do think that fantasy and fiction can be incredible for assessing character development, integrating that into your own life. I don't necessarily think of fantasy the way everybody else might think of fantasy, which is kind of a waste of time. I think that there's lots of things that you can take away from it, but having books there where you would typically grab your phone and being able to engage with those books, it's longer form content. And content you'll be able to summarize and integrate. Also, quick tip, plugging in your phone. If you use your phone while it's charging, plugging it in somewhere where it's uncomfortable, where it's requiring you to stand up, right? So not putting it anywhere near the couch, but maybe towards the front door, right? Maybe by a window, where it's uncomfortable for you to get into a place of scrolling. And over time, you'll start to notice the positive effects of this, right? And you can even log these. Stronger memory, better, more stable mood over time, more energy towards your goals. It's starting to feel easier to make changes in your life rather than scarcity mindset and comparison, which consumption tends to have us go down that path. We're focusing on our own life and the abundance that we already have, right? These systems don't want you to focus on that because that's not going to get you on the app and it's not going to get you buying things. But the abundance that we already have and the focus on our own life. Also, better sleep, and therefore better resilience day to day. And you'll also be rewarded with a dopamine system that's working in the way it was intended to motivate you to fulfill your human needs, to connect you to others, to connect you to nature, and to help you, to motivate you to accomplish your goals. If you find that all of this is beneficial, feel free to check out my meditation challenge I have on dopamine detox. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, certain parts of the meditation, because it is going to be in complete silence, certain parts. So get a sense of your relationship to silence. How can we strengthen that relationship with silence, where we get a sense of creativity, a sense of inspiration. I will keep this on Mint Mind so that you all have access to it. It's great to watch it twice or even 3 times because it gets deeper and deeper into the subconscious mind. And like I said, if you benefit, enjoy the 3-part challenge that I have on dopamine detox, where we hit it from different angles. But it's all about reacclimating to silence. As always, I'm sending you guys so much love. These challenges also come with quote unquote homework assignments specific to that meditation. It also comes with deep reflection questions and strengthening your bond with silence and boredom, to make sure that our dopamine system is working in the way it was intended to. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be all about holiday stress. How can we de-stress around the holidays? I'll have a little meditation, some breathing exercises, some of my favorite tips and tricks, and yeah, really just supporting you in this holiday season. All right. Have a great one. Bye.